Well, hello and welcome to this semi-final first leg preview video. Different sort of setup, I guess, than what we normally do with the weekly previews. The previews were put up yesterday, but right now I'm going to take some time to sit here and just go through the 8 semi-finals this weekend in the New FM Northern League 1. Firstly, a massive thanks to all those that attended the New Sports Awards night on Wednesday night. That was a brilliant turnout. I think we just got under 70 people or so. So good to see so many people from different clubs, and afterwards, hanging out with guys from Wallsend, New Lambton, a few different clubs there. It was just good to have everyone together, and of course those awards were meaningful as well. Anyway, we're going to get into the first game. The under-17s tomorrow at Thornton Park. It is 4th place New Lambton versus the minor premiers West Wallsend. Firstly, for New Lambton, they were pretty average, somewhere between average and terrible last week is what their performance was at Cooks Hill. And they definitely need more. They didn't register a shot, in my opinion. I might have missed a half chance or two, but I don't think there was a real shot until the 31st minute, which was kind of Townsend, if memory serves correctly. By that point they were already 2-0 down, if memory also serves correctly. So that's really not a good sign when you're going into a match against the minor premiers. In the form of West Wallsend. New Lambton did draw Westy twice this year. Liam Walker's goal, of course, rescuing a dramatic point last time out. Real quickly, the keys to victory for New Lambton, in my opinion, they've got to step up defensively. Last week wasn't good enough. The goalkeeper made an error leading to the second goal. It's all about building up defensively, and they've got to keep Westy at bay this weekend with the away goal rule in force. Their strike force need to step up a lot too. That's the key to victory for New Lambton in the 17s. They've just got to step up. For Westy, really, there was little doubt they were going to wrap up the minor premiership last weekend against Cessnock City Hornets. I was never ever expecting them not to beat Cessnock City Hornets, but to the tune of 8-1 was probably a few more goals than what I thought would have been in that one. I think 5-1 was my prediction, or there or thereabouts. That was a big victory for Westy to wrap up the premiership, the club's first trophy in 10 years, which, for them to do that is massive for that club. But after making 2 grand finals last year, losing them both, the job's not done for Westy. It's nowhere near done. And as I said, they did draw New Lambton twice. It's the only side in the top 4 they haven't beat yet. And I have a feeling, they are indeed the favourites in this leg. The key to victory for West Wallsend is their attack force. Kai Drayton, Blake Chiapara, Sam Wyburn. Those are sort of players that just are probably going to cancel out New Lambton's defence. Westy, they were unlucky not to beat them last time. If they get their scoring boots on, they could do some real damage tomorrow and make this one very, very tough to come back from. We move on to the under-19s tomorrow at Thornton Park. Again, it's New Lambton in action in 4th place against the minor premiers in Cooks Hill United. This game was played last weekend, so it's pretty easy to tell you that things need to change for New Lambton. They need to change dramatically if they're to stand a chance of even making it past the first 80 of the 160-minute 2-leg semi-final. Their defence last week, the game was over after 15 minutes or so, 2-0 down. They didn't really threaten too much. They got Jones and Homer on the wings, or sort of up front, if you will. 2 of the best attackers in the competition. But for me, all year, New Lambton's defence in the 19s has been questionable, and last week they were very, very questionable. And I think that's been nice They've got a big, well, they've got to turn it around, to put it simple. Their key to victory is through Jones and Homer, of course, up front, but defensively they've got to set the bar in the first leg. If Cooks Hill take any sort of win tomorrow, even probably a score draw, if they take that back to the outfield next week, then it's, in my opinion, game over. New Lambton, they are big outsiders in the 19s, in my opinion. Cooks Hill, the minor premiers, not much else to say about them. They are the favourites, as I mentioned. And this team, unlike Bellswans, who some days can sort of rock up and not be correctly on the job, so to speak, this Cooks Hill side are a very serious football side, and you know, they know that they are one of the best teams, if not the best team, but they also want to prove that every single game. And that's really what I think their job is this weekend, to not be complacent in the first leg, to give New Lambton that respect. They did beat them last week, and look, if you fast forward to tomorrow morning and Cooks Hill are up 2-0 after 15 minutes again on away goals, it's all but over. They, in my opinion, can wrap it up tomorrow, and having home advantage next week will be very, very handy for them. Defensively, Cooks Hill, that's their key to victory tomorrow. They've been setting the bar defensively all year. Brady Conlon wasn't the player of the year in the 19s for any particular reason. He can defend, he can also score goals, and they also have probably 6 or 7 other players who can also score goals. Heavy favourites, in my opinion. The 23s, Westie versus Cooks Hill United. 4th versus 1st again. West Wallsend, you know, the amount of points that they finished ahead of the next nearest team, who I forget who it was, it doesn't really matter who it was anymore. I have a feeling it was Cahaiba in 5th. The 23s competition, it's, in my opinion, it's just Cooks Hill and Wallsend right up there. Fortin sort of just there behind, Westie a little bit more behind them, and then just nothing. So Westie are the odd team out in the 23s, but their form is quite decent, and really they have nothing to lose in this. All the pressure in the world is on Cooks Hill as the minor premiers. No one's rating Westie a chance. Someone I spoke to yesterday said it's probably going to finish 5-1 to Cooks Hill in the first leg. I think I said 3-1. Nonetheless, I really do think Cooks Hill will be well on their way to a grand final appearance after a away leg victory tomorrow. Westie's key to victory is defence. It's as simple as that. And that's, you know, they've got to set the bar defensively and then build from there at the other end of the field. For Cooks Hill, really they've just got to be not complacent. Their games against Westie this year, I think they've conceded 5 goals, if memory serves correctly. It's more important for them next week, I think, to not concede away goals. If Cooks Hill win 2-1 tomorrow and then next week, you know, it's 3-2 or something, you never know what might happen. I think Cooks Hill will win it. They should win it. And if they don't win it, then for them it is a failure as the minor premiers. They've beaten Westie twice. The first time they had to come from behind to win. So I think for Cooks Hill, that's the thing, that they can't buy into this. I'm calling them the favourites. Probably everybody but West Wallsend are calling them the favourites. So they've got the favourites tag, and they've got to wear that tag and sort of, you know, show up to the game at least and try and play their best football. If they play their best football, in my opinion, there's no stopping these guys for West Wallsend. And I'll put it that bluntly. They are the minor premiers for a reason, Cooks Hill. They got Asher Beasley, who scored 23 goals. And if he doesn't score, then guys like Damien Sporer and Jared Neal scored twice last week. They'll score. Fortin versus Cookshill United, first grade fixture. I mean, what a big day it is for the Redbacks tomorrow. One of their biggest days in club history, in my opinion. 40-year anniversary. They're up against Cookshill, up against the minor premiers. Daryl McAllister's last home game as coach as well. To put it simply, for Fortin, if Cookshill win or get a score draw tomorrow, they are gone. Fortin Redbacks, in my opinion, need to win, or at bare minimum they need to keep it a scoreless draw. They don't want to be letting in away goals and then having to go to the outfield. Home advantage at Fortin Park is a big thing. It's probably the worst pitch in the competition out of the top 4 sides. And for Fortin, that helps them because they know that pitch, they know how to play on that pitch. They drew Cookshill last time up there, 2-2 draw. But even that tomorrow, a 2-2 draw with away goals, that favours Cookshill. For Fortin, defence again is their key to victory, and it's going to be like that for most of the home sides this week, the lower placed teams. The minor premiers, Cookshill. Now the question has to be asked, was that their grand final at the outfield last weekend? I think that's a fair call. Graham Law, being Scottish background, believes that the minor premiership is the big prize, but there is still another prize to be won. But you know, complacency can be a thing. Just ask Lake Macquarie City from last season, Lakes from the season before as well, leading on away goals. The favourites aren't always going to have a good time, an easy time in semi-finals. It never ever happens like that. Maybe in the lower grades, but definitely not in first grade. For Cookshill, if they win tomorrow, they're pretty much in the grand final. They're not going to lose at the athletics field in a grand final qualifier. I really cannot see that happening. Their quality just across the park, on paper, Cookshill versus Fortin Redbacks, Cookshill have the better side. A lot of different goal scorers last week, and damage can be done here. But for Cookshill, I think there will be goals in this one. They don't keep clean sheets, Cookshill, so it's going to be very interesting. Fortin really need to step up tomorrow and get a good result. We move on to Sunday out at Blacksmiths, back at Blacksmiths for another semi-final day. Toronto against Cookshill in the 17s. This is a tough one to call because Toronto finished below Cookshill, but Toronto beat Cookshill not once but twice this season, and the last time they beat them 4-1 at Cookshill. So Toronto Stags, very dangerous side in the 17s. But they also had the week off last week. The week before that they drew with New Lambton. The week before that I think they lost to Bell Swans. The week before that they drew with Walls End or something like that. Their form is very poor by their standards. But for Toronto, again, it's probably away goals, but to a lesser extent because Cookshill aren't going to be going back to the outfield next week. They're going to be going to Cahibah Oval. Toronto, I think, have the potential to win this. I really do. Just having Thomas Appleby, the top scorer in the side against Cookshill, that's going to come in really handy. Their defence has to be good. Goalkeeper, Brock Redmond, it's going to be a very testing day, particularly if it's a windy day at Blacksmiths as it normally is. Toronto, it's a big test for them. They can set the bar here in the first leg. Cookshill, on the other hand, they were good last week without being great against New Lambton. I thought New Lambton really handed them the game, but Cookshill didn't. You know, they probably could have scored 4 on the day, but nonetheless they got the 2 that counted. But playing in the back of their minds will be that fact that Toronto's beat them twice this season, and that's not something they'll forget. 2-1 in the opening round, 4-1 in the second round. And I mean, if Toronto come out and beat it 4-1, despite the fact away goals count, then Toronto's well on their way to the grand final. So Cooks Hill, they have to be careful tomorrow. Away goals are a thing, but they aren't as big as a thing if you're not going to be playing at home in the second leg. Neither of these sides are going to be doing that, being at Blacksmiths and Cahaiba. Which team do I think might win it tomorrow? I think whatever I tipped, it's available to look at. I forget, I wrote it yesterday, but again, the wind is going to play a part, I think. I mean, it's a windy day today. It's probably going to be a windy day on Sunday, and that's been causing major havoc for goalkeepers at Blacksmiths. Very, very even game, this one, Toronto and Cooks Hill. I don't think it'll be decided this week. I think it'll be decided next week. And that's where we'll leave that one. Westie and Belmont Swansea in the 19s, a grand final rematch. Really, this is a very, very good semi-final to be able to watch this and encounter this rivalry once again. The last game I watched was that 2-2 draw out there at Blacksmiths, and Westie rescuing the point, dramatic fashion. Now this is interesting for me because Blacksmiths being the ground, the venue, Bell Swans are the away side in the under-19s. So they're playing for away goals on their home field, and that's a big, big plus for the second place Bell Swans side. Westie have been sort of flying under the radar a little bit. We haven't covered a lot of their games recently, but they did beat Cessnock last week. They've got a good attacking lineup, and that's going to be their key to victory. They've got to match Bell Swans. There's going to be goals in this. The likes of Josh Knight he's going to come in vital. James Barnes as well. They've got that experience of last year's semi-final series, and really Westie, as the underdogs, will be looking to prove a point. But again, Bell Swans with the away advantage at home, that's going to come into play. All about defence for Westie this week. For Belmont Swansea, they just missed out on the minor premiership, but that 29 game unbeaten streak, they've only lost one game since May last year. And that's what I think is going to be that is what's going to happen for Westie to get in the grand final. They need to win one of these semi-finals. They need to beat Bell Swans. And that I don't know if they can do. Belmont Swansea, you look at their attacking force. Dundas, Nicholson, McMaster, Ellis can score goals as well. David Swain in midfield, Arch Johnson in midfield. This is a very, very strong lineup. Defensively, they're strong. And they'll be looking to get a big, big advantage on home turf with away goals. And this could be well and truly Bell Swans on their way to the grand final after the first leg. If they get a 2-0 away leg win, it's going to be a tough road back for Westie. So that for me is one of the more interesting semi-final ties of the weekend, being Bell Swans playing for away goals on their home turf. You don't see that every week. And again, I think it's going to be absolutely paramount to their chances of making it into the grand final yet again. One of these sides will not be there, so it won't be the same grand final as last year, obviously. In the 23s, Fortin Redbacks versus Wallsend FC. I think this is a more even, I was going to say cup tie, but it's a semi-final tie than the other 23 semi. Fortin, I think they beat Wallsend last time. Wallsend did lose to Fortin. They lost to Westie as well. Bounced back last week against Cahaiba, but it wasn't. I don't know. They sort of cruised a little bit. It wasn't a confidence-boosting result or anything, but they just got the job done. They were fairly comfortable in doing that. They're going to be tested a lot more this week by Fortin. I don't think we can undersell what the Redbacks have done in the 23s either. They have had a very, very good season. perhaps overshadowed a little bit by the fact that first grade are going so well, so they get a lot of the attention. But the 23s have been consistent. Their one loss in the last 6 or 7, or their one draw, I should say, was against Cahaiba. That was never a penalty that day, so they should have won that game. They are the informed side, and for Wallsend, they need to step up. I think they're the underdogs despite being the higher placed side. We will see what happens tomorrow. Wallsend, of course, got a fairly young defensive line, but Fortin got a few youngsters themselves, but they got some experience. I did read today that Chris Berg might have to play first grade for Fortin, so that's going to be an interesting proposition if they're going to be without their goalkeeper. Have to see what happens there. I guess Bergie can play Saturday and then Sunday. Obviously, it's on different days. I didn't really think of that until just now. For Wallsend, I think I've gone over my time limit for this game, but we're going to talk about it for another 50 seconds. Wallsend away goals count this week. They've got some good goal scorers in that side, but they've got to be consistent. They've got to really take advantage of away goals. Can I say advantage twice in the same sentence? They've got to take advantage of the away goals rule and try and get the win this weekend. Again, I think it's going to be a windy day at Bell Swans, so that's going to play a part. Wallsend's got a young defence. They're going to be under the pump against some of Fortin's young attackers. So it's a very, very interesting game, this one in the 23s, and I do think on paper it is the better matchup of the two 23s semi-finals, and really either of these sides could make it to the grand final. Last but not least, Belmont Swansea versus Cahaiba FC. I mean, here we go again, right? It was a thriller last year. This season, the first game, Bell Swans was still finding their feet. Cahaiba too good that day. Bell Swans did beat Cahaiba last time. Of course, that game was paused for a significant time period because of Tom Parkinson's broken leg. That obviously had to play in Cahaiba's mindset a little bit. Tegan Marcus scoring the second goal straight away after the restart. And Cahaiba, to their credit, were really trying to get an equaliser on that day. So this is a very, very even matchup. I mean, it won't be decided this week. Cooks Hill, if they put a few past Fort tomorrow, they're through. But this is going to be tight. This is going to be really cutthroat action. These two clubs, there's a rivalry there. There's some players that get on well. There's players that don't get on well. The coaches have had a couple moments this year. Matt Moncrief returning from suspension for Cahaiba after being sent off after some late controversy there at Bell Swans last time. It was only 3 weeks ago. These two teams, they don't have short memories. So the key to victory for me, for Bell Swans, is Tegan Marcus up front. And of course, defensively, I think it's a big day for them too, because Cahaiba is playing for away goals. You can't go for goals and leave yourself open. And I think Josh Rufo knows semi-finals football. He knows how it works. And you got to remember, he coached that brilliant comeback from Wallsend FC 2 years ago out there at Macquarie Field. Tegan Marcus is the danger man in this semi-final tie. For Cahaiba, it's all about their defence. It has been all year. Heath Kepriotes, Gumprech, Murray Leyland, Matt Lee. Those sort of players are going to come in very, very handy. Nick Hartnett in goals as well. A very, very experienced goalkeeper. That's what they've got to do, Cahaiba, I think, on Sunday, is just keep Bell Swans at bay and then take the game back to Cahaiba next weekend. A tip to get into the grand final. Belmont Swansea United, because they've got the best striker in the competition. But you never quite know in semi-final football. So that is the weekend preview. Hopefully that sort of went into a bit more detail than what the written previews did. But it is a very, very interesting weekend. The first leg, most times, it won't decide the game. Sometimes it will. I remember South Cardiff against Cooks Hill in the 23s last year. What was it, 4 or 5-0 in the first leg? That was game over. That was all said and done in the first leg. Hopefully, the 17s last year too, Westie and Wallsend. Hopefully, there's nothing like that. I don't want to sit through a second week of finals where one team's already 4-0 up on away goals. So it all starts tomorrow. It's hard to believe, semi-final football. Here we go again. And before you know it, we'll be back at Tenambit Sports Ground starting pre-season with some Fortin interviews, just like we did this year, 7 months ago now. 7 months today, actually, I think, since those interviews with the Fortin Redbacks kicked off our pre-season coverage. So it's been a whirlwind, but there's more to come, and the best of luck to the competing squads. We will be having a look at the 15 semi-finals next week, that being only one leg, because who knows, everything has to be different with the 15s. Apparently they can't play 2 legs. Anyway, we'll leave it at that, and Fortin Park tomorrow, the Blacksmiths Oval on Sunday. Big weekend of football ahead of us, and we'll see you out there.
It comes in and they go up for it, and Pearce is there and it's saved, and it's back in, and Pearce scrambles it in, and New Lambton lead through their captain Hayden Pearce. Trying to get one here with a throw in. It's flicked on, and now Rory Cownine's in on goal, scores. Rory Cownine's makes it look pretty easy in the end. A good individual goal puts Cooks Hill United up 1-0. Liam Simpson gets away from his man. He's taken off here. Simpson looks towards goal. Simpson! Oh, what a goal! Liam Simpson with a quality finish, the left-footed finish. It's coming back here to Toronto. Clemson fires and Clemson scores. It's a good low finish across goal for Andrew Clemson. And Stags at last have a 1-0 lead. And Carter over. Carter hits it. Oh! Pick that out. Bobby Carter to make it 2-0 for Cooks Hill. And that nearly put a hole in the back of the net. The free kick. Jack Blomfield has got a good left foot. It's curled in. Oh, what a goal! In the wind at Westie, Jack Blomfield delivers from a set piece again. And they're away here. Jackson Traeger has done well. Traeger! Oh, what a finish! Jackson Traeger to put Toronto in front. Now it's flicked on again. Liam Walker in behind. Walker chips him. Walker scores! New Lambton, they've done it! There's 20 seconds to go. There's not even 20 seconds to go. Wild scenes at Johnston Park as the Eagles complete a comeback in the under-17s. Get around his man, he does so. Chiapara crosses it in. Oh, it's gone in. Blake Chiapara scores for West Wallsend. It's a cross-turn goal. West Wallsend win it 1-0. In the left foot, it will be Stevens, and that is some goal. Jacob Stevens puts New Lambton ahead. Escape without a second caution. Now Knight whips it in. Melville! Too simple. The set piece again for West Wallsend, and now it's 2-0. McMaster across goal. Headed away. Ellis gets a hat-trick. Yes, he does. Matty Ellis to make it 8-1 for Belmont Swansea United. Now the free kick comes in, and they go up for it. Jackson Graham scores! They're appealing for handball, Westie, but it's going to count. With 5 minutes to go, Cooks Hill are in front at a very hostile Johnston Park. The ball, and Johannes will look up, and that's a quality ball. Here's Homer in behind already. Luke Homer scores! It's round 1 all over again. Homer with an early goal to put New Lambton ahead. 1-0 in the under-19s. Just one pass from Daniil Johannes, and what a pass it was. A perfect through ball. The chance is still there. It's come to Lachlan McMaster. He'll fire. McMaster scores on the right foot. What a finish from Lachie McMaster to put Belmont Swansea in front. West Wallsend swarming. Preston, the ball's in. Barnes scores. West Wallsend a level. It's 2-2 at Belmont Swansea in the grand final rematch. Carter, free kick. Conlon's there. Brady Conlon, the header. It's 2-0. 13 minutes in and they are running away with this. The big centre back scores and the minor premiership is one step closer. Thompson's collided with the Bell Swans. Man, he's down. They're going to play on here. Josh Rufo's screaming in the box. McAllister scores. They've played on and Bell Swans are going off on the sideline. Bartlett's in behind here. He gets past him. Bartlett in the middle. McAllister's there. Nathan McAllister scores. Fortin 3-0. It's 3-0 at Blacksmiths. They're on fire today, the Redbacks. Just turns around. What? Teague Marcus is away here. Marcus streaming down the field. Teague Marcus scores. It's 4-0. Looking dangerous. Penfold over the top. It's in the back of the net. It's an own goal. It's Stephen Bramley, I think. It's heartbreak for Cookshill and Kahaiba have a 4-3 lead in stoppage time. Set piece. It's whipped in. They go up for it. It's in. What a header. Alex Gillespie and Cookshill United are 3-1 up at Kahaiba Oval. A powerful header. He got up high and just smashed that in. 92nd minute, whips it in. Cummings goes up. He scores. Fortin are in front. Stephen Cummings has surely won the game for the Fortin Redbacks. What a moment. Another late goal here at Fortin Park. By Gazzard, it comes back to him. Gazzard in. Rufo scores. Bell Swans lead. Danny Rufo. Unbelievable. His first goal of the season. And the 10-man Bell Swans side are in front of the ladder leaders here at Blacksmiths. Hodgson. Now Hadlow fires. Jamie Hadlow scores. Is that the telling blow here at Kahaiba Oval today? There hasn't been many chances, but Hadlow's made that one count, and Kahaiba FC have the lead with 8 minutes to go. Now it falls to Cal Lewis, and he finds Yaxley. There was a hint of offside, but play goes on. Dan Yaxley, this would seal it. Ramspot, what a finish! Jonas Ramspot with the first touch finish, and Cookshill are 5-1 up, and they are the premiers now.
United 5 defeating U19s NLE 3 and Cookshill winning the 2017 UFM minor premiership.
It is their greatest day. Cookshill United are the premiers.